Open almost any piece of self-improvement media, and you will be handed a massive 20-point checklist of traits you supposedly need to succeed. You are told you need to be perfectly disciplined, highly empathetic, flawlessly resilient, and completely patient, all at the exact same time. Your brain operates on a finite energy supply. When you simultaneously adopt 20 new behavioral changes, you force your nervous system to power 20 separate friction points at once. The math fails. Your willpower drops to zero, triggering systemic failure and total burnout. Marketing relies on phrases like, "just be a good person," because it sounds actionable. In reality, executing a trait like courage or extreme patience under high-stress conditions creates massive psychological friction. It requires active, difficult effort. Building character is an energetic investment. Because your capacity is limited, you have to look at your current reality and ruthlessly prioritize where that energy goes. Discard the 20-point list entirely. We are reorganizing these traits into 3 targeted pillars, called character stacks. A stack is a highly curated subset of traits that structurally interlock to solve one specific type of life friction at a time. To make this work, you have to let go of universal perfection. You have to pick exactly one stack to invest your limited energy into right now. The way you evaluate which stack you need is by looking at your current environment. You have to measure whether your biggest obstacles require an internal focus, meaning strict self-regulation, or an external focus, which means managing the emotions and actions of others. Choosing a specific character stack means explicitly accepting its trade-offs. Prioritizing one set of behaviors strictly dictates the positive traits you must temporarily ignore. The first tier is the foundational base. This stack is entirely about self-regulation, and it relies on 3 core components: integrity, discipline, and self-control. The primary input required here is strict adherence to daily routines and personal rules. You have to execute regardless of your mood, your fatigue levels, or your level of motivation on any given day. Adopting this stack comes with a steep trade-off. It demands a high expenditure of your initial willpower and forces you to continually sacrifice spontaneous comfort. The return on that investment is a non-negotiable bedrock of personal reliability. It establishes a baseline level of confidence because you actually do what you tell yourself you are going to do. In practice, this looks like choosing a long-term financial milestone or a daily health metric over the immediate convenience of a social event or a relaxed evening. If you attempt to invest in higher-level leadership traits without securing this foundational stack first, your efforts will collapse under the pressure of your own inconsistency. The second tier is the leadership and interpersonal multipliers. This stack groups empathy, accountability, honesty, and humility. The core mechanical shift here is outward. You are transitioning your energy away from personal optimization and redirecting it entirely toward group dynamics and creating psychological safety for others. The inputs for this stack carry a high cost. You have to suspend your personal ego, practice active listening, and publicly absorb failures, even when those failures occurred outside your direct control. This chart maps emotional labor against group trust. Executing these traits demands high emotional labor, pushing you into the top right quadrant, exhausting without a foundational base. But it compounds. This emotional cost generates psychological safety, producing extreme loyalty and high-functioning teams. This requires a totally different pace than Stack 1. True empathy and humility force you to intentionally slow down your fast unilateral decisions so you can include other people in the process. This stack is the bridge that turns a rigid, individual high performer into a scalable leader, assuming you are willing to bear the emotional cost. The final category is the friction testers and preservers. This stack is built on resilience, courage, patience, and self-respect. Unlike the first 2 stacks, this one is entirely defensive. You are no longer focusing on outputting new work or building up a team. You are strictly holding boundaries. The required input is voluntary, prolonged exposure to stagnant, uncomfortable, or conflict-heavy situations without retreating or giving in to the anxiety of the moment. The social trade-off here is isolation. Enforcing your self-respect and practicing hard patience involves psychological discomfort, and it will likely alienate peers who previously benefited from your lack of boundaries. This stack acts as your internal immune system. It protects your mental health during a crisis and physically stops you from settling for suboptimal compromises. It is the ultimate safeguard. It ensures that your hard-won discipline and leadership capacity are not exploited to the point of permanent burnout. To apply this immediately, we use a mapping matrix that connects your current life stage directly to the trait stack you need. We have 3 profiles plotted against their primary stack and the necessary trade-off. If you are struggling with basic execution, you are the builder. You need to ignore complex interpersonal traits entirely and lock your focus onto stack 1. Your trade-off is short-term comfort. If you are a high performer hitting a relational ceiling in your career, you are the leader. Your bottleneck is human connection, not hard work. Pivot to stack 2 and pay the trade-off of your personal ego. If you are highly disciplined but chronically burned out, you are the recoverer. Adopt stack 3. You have to optimize for boundary preservation and accept the trade-off of lowering your output and displeasing others. You might feel the urge to do more, but focusing on one stack builds functional habits faster than failing at 20 things simultaneously. Character is the tactical deployment of specific traits required by your current situation. Your next step is clear. You must immediately identify your single greatest point of friction. Is it a lack of action, a lack of connection, or a lack of boundaries? Select exactly one stack to govern your behavior for the next quarter and fully accept the associated costs. Building character is an economic exchange of energy. Spreading that energy too thin guarantees behavioral bankruptcy. Master the specific inputs you need today, pay the necessary trade-off cost, and give yourself permission to let the rest of the list wait.